Hi, welcome to my video on powers of a -1. Powers of -1. Some examples. -1 squared is -1 times -1. Negative times negative is a positive, so 1, because you have like signs, positive. -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 to the fourth power. And you have 4 negatives, so that's a 1. Notice that you have 4 of them. Those 2 make a positive. Those 2 make a positive. So if you have an even number, you have a positive number. If you have -1 to the 6th power, so it's -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 times -1. Again, you have, when you multiply those 2, that's positive. Multiply those 2 is positive. Multiply those 2 is positive. So that gives you a positive 1. Notice I didn't put the positive in. So you have even powers, you get a positive. -1 to the 1 is just a -1. -1 cubed is -1 times -1 times -1. When you multiply those 2 right here, you get a positive. And when you multiply positive by a negative, you get a -1. Notice they're odd. An odd number becomes negative. -1 to the 5th power, notice the bracket, -1 to the 5th power is a -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 times -1. That's an odd number of powers, so that's going to be -1. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. And an odd number of -1 to an odd power gives you an odd number. In A, B, and C above, the result in A, B, and C above, the result is positive. What is the exponent or power? Odd or even? The exponent is 2, 4, 6. It's even. In D, E, and F above, the result is negative. You could say -1 or negative. Let's say -1 and +1. What are the exponents or powers? So they're 1, 3, 5. The exponents are odd. So notice, when you have even powers of a negative number, you'll have positive number. When you have an odd power of a negative number, you'll have a negative number. Practice, simplify each. -1 to the 7 is -1 because it's odd power. -1 to the 10th power is 1 because it's an even power. -1 to the 24 is a 1 because it's an even power. -1 to the 93, 93 is odd. It's odd because it ends in a 3, so it's a -1. 55 is odd number, so it's -1. 98 is a 1. Notice -1 in brackets, all to the 98, so it's even, so it's a 1. 227 is odd, so it's a -1. -1 to the 60 over 3 is 20, and 20 is even, so you have a 1. And right here we have -1 to the 11th power, so that's -1, times -1 to the 15th power, so that's odd, so it's negative, and a negative times a negative is a positive, so the answer to that is 1. And right here we have a -1 to the 4th power, so that's 1 because it's even. Subtract. -1 to the 9th power is negative, so it's -1. And we know that when we subtract, we have add on a positive, so that becomes a 2. So when we subtract, we add on the opposite. The opposite of a negative is a positive, so 1 plus 1 is 2. And -1 is, we're multiplying, so that's 8 over 1. When we multiply fractions, we cancel. 4 into 4 goes once, 4 into 8 goes 2. That gives me a 6. -1 to an even power is 1. And -1, so what is 1.2 divided by 0.4? Let's see. 0.4 divided into 1.2. Move one place in the divisor, one place in the dividend. 4 into 12 goes 3, so that becomes a 3. -1 to an odd power is -1. Just, you need that somewhere up above when you deal with rational expressions in grade 12 and logarithms and rational polynomials in grade 12. Nice to know. If you like my video, then you can click on the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, write a comment if you wish, and if you want, you can visit my website, www.mathfullyexplained.com. Information about me, my degrees and teaching experience, the videos. Section on video has these teaching strategies you're going to use to help you learn your math. And there's a section on content, most important. It has the topics and the number of videos that's in each of the topics. And also in the black font is the videos that I have already completed. And in the red font, the videos that I will be completing in the near future. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.